I'll just splice this in and make a longer video for YouTube. Fuck it. So Ravonna Renslayer brushed off Kang's advances and all that shit, and he murdered a whole bunch of people to try to win her over, and that still didn't work. And you can read the comics if you want, but the bottom line is Ravonna was a princess who ran things. She did run things. She was a strong female. But Disney didn't choose that. Disney didn't run with that. Instead, she runs the TVA, the 241, because it has to do with time. It has to do with a day and a night. It's so on the nose. TVA. 241. Just use your brain, cast the 1, because to cast 9 is to cast 1, but you're not taught that. Because you're not supposed to know that. Either way. And spoilers, mind you. So instead, she was a judge in the TVA in terms of the TV show. And it's interesting that they changed that. It's something to think about. Also, bear in mind, I mean, that's how she's presented in the beginning of this crap. Most likely, if they're going to tell the story and tell it properly, she will still be a princess or something like that, but 10-1, they're going to give her even more power and talk up her stature, to say the very least. Because that's how Disney functions these days with the MCU. Not to be confused with what Marvel used to be. And again, a pole shift. A shift in power, a changing of the guard, and it's polarizing. It's meant to be polarizing. That's what's going on in, the realm that you and I are a part of. And most people don't see it for what it is. They don't understand why it is what it is. And yet our masters have conducted things that are acts of greater magic that ushered all of this in. But people aren't paying attention, so they didn't understand it. They didn't see it. They don't get it. I'll play the other video now and digress. The whole point is this shit does shape reality through our thoughts, and then people talk about it. Not to mention, if all words are casting spells when they're spoken, blah, 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 what do you hear in this episode? And I want to stress that they talk about pie. Far too much for this to be a coincidence. Not to mention they go into the pie room, and if you count the dots on the ceiling, it's a circular arrangement of dots or circles. If I'm not mistaken, there are 8 dots from the outer aspect of the circle to the inner aspect. Why would I say that? Because you gotta cast the 9. It's the flower of life. It's the 1 through the 8, and that's divine. Again, nobody else is going to tell you that. Nobody else is going to spoon feed that to you, and it's a big fucking deal. And I want to show people deeper roots, but I haven't found people who want to put in the time and figure any of this shit out so they understand it. Before I show you that video, I should also rattle off. I can spoon feed you guys things, but if you can't reverse engineer any of it, if you haven't been digging up anything that reflects reality, you don't understand how to do that, well then all I did was think for you and give you something to repeat. So it goes nowhere. You take it and you're going to corrupt it because you don't understand the foundation that it's built on. And that's why I don't just leave answers online, typically speaking. Back to point. Where's it at?
What this is, as you see, it's 3D holographic-like cymoglyph created at 22.2 hertz by sonically compressed regions of water that have a different refractive index to the surrounding water. Now, there's a lot of information that can be gained from this image. This is not something that's been made in Photoshop. This is an actual sound image in the water. You can't see the boundary condition because it was removed. That part was removed photographically, but there's been no retouching absolutely of that image. That is a real image of sound in water. Because it's a 22.2 hertz frequency, and because it's coming from an analog oscillator that has this very, very low distortion, we can draw certain conclusions. Let's imagine, if you will, that we can zoom in on one water molecule in any part of that beautiful, what we call a cymoglyph, the word that we've created to say effectively sound image. If we could zoom in on any one molecule, what you would have to find is that molecule is vibrating at 22.2 hertz, obviously. And if you went anywhere else on that image and they zoomed in, you would find the same thing. Well, what does that mean? And yet we've got all this structure, this beautiful structure, you see? So this is why I think it's quite safe and conservative to say that it's holographic-like, or that we could use the word perhaps quasi-holographic, but certainly there are holographic properties to this. But another very important aspect to this is if we can create these kind of beautiful patterns in water simply by injecting a frequency or frequencies into the water, then there are huge implications for medical science, if you think about this. So it means that all of the sounds around us, whether it be people talking or music...
Now think of that Disney programming. Training you to think something, internalize it, and express it to limiting degrees, varying degrees. It's how this shit works. It's part of how this shit works. There's a lot more to it as well. You think of the subliminal jazz too, which Disney has been knocking out subliminal imagery the entire time Disney has been in, the entire time the company's been around, is what I'm trying to spit out. It's not something new, if you've been paying attention.
If you imagine classical music, what that's doing in your body, this kind of image could be appearing in the visceral waters of your body, where you've got boundaries. Certainly, wherever you've got a boundary, you're going to have images that can form. Now, one of the areas in your body that you absolutely know you've got nice clean boundaries are the membranes of cells. And in fact, I have done some early work, microscopy work, with living cells where you can literally see the pattern on the surface of the cell. So just thinking ahead a little bit about the possibilities for sound therapy as a mechanism, that we're looking into a mechanism. Why does sound heal? We know it does. Ultrasound is used every day in hospitals as an actual therapy, not just for diagnostic tool, but as a therapy. And yet no one knows in the medical community why that ultrasound heals. And there's a whole group of people, including my dear friend and colleague Gary Buchanan, who's speaking next, who uses sound therapy on a daily basis. And I'm sure he'll give you some more insights into this. But I think
you should also look up the number of petals associated with each one of your chakras. Keep in mind, it's a corrupted outline. So look up numerous examples. You're going to have to compare and contrast. Because now there have been numbers added to it. Just like numbers added to how many books were in the Bible. You'll see 88 books on Amazon.com associated with the Ethiopian Bible, which is horse shit. It's 84. It's 84. And you subtract 84 from 66, and it's the flower of life, 18. That's the difference. That's what our masters removed. Crudely speaking. Yeah. So look up the number of petals associated with your chakras. Take notes. Make a list. Compare and contrast. Put in the time. Truly research. Be invested, which means you're involved. And how many people are going to do that? How many people are going to choose that adventure and take that homework assignment and do something with it?
You can see that if we can create beauty in the body of the water, not just on the surface, then there's a big implication here for many aspects of science.
No shit.
The holographic principle itself, there are many definitions. I like this particular one by Zimmerman Jones.
Remember, all of this holographic talk is geared towards a new age. In other words, a bastard religion, a one-world religion, a one-realm religion. That's why simulation theory was introduced to begin with. The movie The Matrix is a propaganda tool that contains a lot of lesser magic. Again, it's superficial in big fucking ways because it was widely circulated and well-financed. Same shit I already rattled off. But people do not understand this shit, and it's polarizing. You don't choose the red or the blue pill. But why doesn't that come up?
Information